The bat path seems to be the most talked about, controversial, and misunderstood topic in baseball. First of all, I think we can all agree that hitting a pitch ball can be one of the most difficult skills to master in all of sports. Now I'm talking about a well-pitched ball, where the pitcher keeps the hitter off balance by changing speeds, locations, and bends on the pitch. Hitting a straight fastball that's thrown in the same location at the same speed isn't too difficult. It's the variables that make it a challenge. Now, as far as bat path is concerned, I believe that before we decide on which bat path is best, we need to really understand how little time we have with access to the ball. So let's look at some things here. We have a pitcher standing on a mound that should be 10 inches higher than the plate. The front of the rubber is 60 feet 6 inches from the back of the plate. The hitter is usually straddling the plate or somewhere in that vicinity. The exact location doesn't really matter. The point is, he doesn't have 60 feet 6 inches to look at and decide to hit the pitch. It's less than that by a foot or two, depending on where he hits the ball. Now, as you can see in the picture, I've drawn a box over the hitter. I call this box the contact zone because it's the area within the strike zone where the hitter can reach the ball with his bat. Now, as you can see in the picture, I've given this box a width of 4 feet. Now, I know this changes with different hitters, but I have to give it a number, so 4 feet it is. To give you an idea of what I'm talking about, take a look at this photo. You can see the path of the ball is the dashed white line on the outside of the plate. Now, from this angle, you can see that the bat path intersects the ball path right around his back foot here. From there, it continues through the contact zone and exits here. This distance is the 4 feet that I'm calling the contact zone. Now, I understand that an inside pitch is going to have a slightly longer contact zone than the outside pitch, but we're going to stick with the 4 feet right now as a good average. Make sure everybody understands exactly what I'm talking about with the contact zone. As you can see here, it covers the plate from side to side, and then it would go vertically from the hitter's low strike at his knees up to his high strike at his chest. Now that we are on the same page as far as pitching distance and contact zone, let's take a look at some numbers on an 80-mile-an-hour pitch. Now, when a pitcher delivers the ball, he releases it about 4 feet in front of the mound. Once again, this is an estimate. This leaves the hitter with less than 56.5 feet to see, decide, and hit the ball. So let's see how long it will take for an 80-mile-an-hour fastball to travel 56.5 feet. Now remember, 56.5 feet is from the release point of the pitcher to the back of the plate. The hitter is making contact between 6 inches and about 3.5 feet less than that. So the time you have is actually less than these numbers. Okay, let's do the math. An 80-mile-an-hour pitch times 5,280 feet per mile equals 422,400 feet per hour. Then we take the 422,400 feet per hour and divide it by 3,600 seconds per hour to get 117.3 feet per second. Now, since our ball only needs to travel 56.5 feet, we can divide it by the 117.3 feet per second to get 0.481 seconds. So as you can see, it takes less than a half a second for the ball to travel from the pitcher to the back of the plate. So now let's see how long it takes the ball to travel 1 foot. So we'll take the 0.481 seconds and divide that by our 56.5 feet to get 0.0085 seconds per foot. That's how long it takes the ball to travel 1 foot. That's 8.5 milliseconds. To give you an idea of what that is, a millisecond is 1 second divided by 1,000. Now, our contact zone is only about 4 feet wide, so we take the 4 feet times 0.0085 seconds per foot, and we get 0.034 seconds, 34 milliseconds, 34 thousandths of a second. That is how much time the ball is in the contact zone. That's how much time the ball is within reach of your bat. Think about this. The blink of an eye lasts between 100 and 400 milliseconds. An 80-mile-an-hour ball in the contact zone lasts 34 milliseconds. So if you think about it, you can get between 3 and 12 balls through the zone in a blink of an eye. That's not a lot of time. I cannot overemphasize the fact that we do not have a lot of time where the ball is within reach of our bat when we're talking about bat path. So here we go. You have a ball coming in at you at a downward angle of about 2.5 degrees on high strikes and about 5 degrees on low strikes. So if you only have access to the ball for 34 milliseconds, why would you want to lessen your chances of making solid contact by swinging down through the ball path? For backspin, yes, backspin will help to elevate a ball as it travels and give it more distance. But the Magnus effect, which is what we're talking about here, is really more for pitchers and golfers. They have the time to get the spin on the ball right. Hitters don't have that kind of time. 34 milliseconds, remember? Consider this. If this is your bat path versus an incoming pitch, as you can see, you only have about 20% of the 34 milliseconds where you would make solid contact. However, 20% of 34 milliseconds is only 7 milliseconds. That's 7 thousandths of a second. If you're a little early, you pop it up. A little late, you hit the ball into the ground. And to make it worse, you've given about 40% of your access to the ball back to the pitcher in the form of a strike. If you're going to swing like this, you better have good timing. Now let's throw in a little wrinkle. Let's see what happens when the pitcher changes speed on the pitch. What happens when you're all dialed in on that 80-mile-an-hour fastball? You see it coming and thinks to yourself, I'm going to slice through this ball and backspin it to the moon. But the pitcher has set you up to think it's an 80-mile-an-hour pitch, and instead he throws it 81 or 78 miles an hour. I just don't see the justification for this type of swing. Do you? Really? The point is that hitting a well-pitched ball is hard enough as it is. Every pitch has a different speed, bend, and location. So why not give yourself the best possible chance of making solid contact with whatever pitch comes your way? This can only happen if you put your bat in the same path as the ball for as long as possible. By doing this, your timing can be off a little bit without the severe consequences of a downward bat path. Plus, if your bat makes contact below the center line of the ball, you'll get your backspin. This is how to create backspin. This is how the good hitters do it. Most of them just don't know it. I've listened to a lot of good pro hitters talk about how they hit the ball, and I'll tell you, most of them can't correctly explain how they do it. They grab a bat and they take you through their swing from start to finish. Most will say that they swing down through the ball. But then if you were able to take a video of their game swing and compare it to what they just showed you, it would be different. Why? Because when they swing in a game, it's their muscle memory that swings the bat. They aren't thinking their way through the swing. They see the ball location and their body reacts to it. There are so many calculations that go on inside their head and responses and adjustments made by their muscles that there is no way they could possibly explain it. It would be like a boxer explaining how he can hit a speed bag so well, or someone that can type 100 words a minute explaining how they can move their fingers so accurately and fast. Successful hitters, as well as boxers and typists, aren't born with these skills. They train their muscles to move like that by slowly repeating the same motion over and over until they've developed the muscle memory for that skill. Great hitters have developed their bat paths to respond to the various visual cues of different pitches. These bat paths usually match the path of the ball. Now remember, good muscle memory is developed by doing something perfectly over and over. Speed doesn't matter. Slow and perfect is better than fast and sloppy. A great example of this muscle memory is when you hear about Jenny Finch striking out major league players like Pujols, Bonds, and others. Why is that? Is it speed, the distance, the timing? Her speed at that distance is equivalent to a 100-mile-an-hour major league fastball. Now we all know that these guys can adjust to a 100-mile-an-hour pitch, especially when the ball is bigger. But why can't they hit Jenny? Don't get me wrong, Jenny's a stud, but the reason they can't hit her is because they use a baseball swing to try to hit a softball pitch. What do I mean by this? Remember what I said before. Good major league hitters match the path of the bat to the path of the ball. However, when they use that swing against Jenny, well, where have we seen this before? You will limit your success in baseball if you use a softball bat path, just like you would limit your success in softball using a baseball bat path, because the balls are coming at you from different angles. If Pujols and Bonds and others would adjust their bat paths to match Jenny's pitch, they would most likely hit her. This, by the way, is the reason that submariners and sidearm pitchers are successful. Hitters need to adjust their bat to the path of the ball. So how do we practice our swing and know that our bat path is on the same path as the incoming pitch? Well, you can use a tee and try to imagine the ball path. But it's difficult to know for sure if your bat is in that path through the entire contact zone. If you have a coach helping you, are you both imagining the same ball path? The only way to see an actual game speed ball path is to face game speed pitching. The problem is that you have to swing at full speed and then try to figure out if your bat was on the right path after the fact. The problem with this is that if the ball is hit well, it is usually assumed that the swing was correct, when it could have just been luck. The other problem with practicing at full speed is that when you do something at full speed, your body almost always reverts back to muscle memory. If you have a flaw in your swing, you're just reinforcing it. Something to think about. Every time you swing your bat, you're either reinforcing a good or a bad habit. So back to practicing our swing. You can continue to imagine the ball path and guess as to whether or not your barrel was in that path for as long as possible. Or you can eliminate the guessing and use the Swingerator. The Swingerator is a simple device that allows both the hitter and the coach the ability to see the path of the ball as it would be seen in full speed. You can set it high in the strike zone, low in the zone, or anywhere in between. This allows you to work on every conceivable fastball location. You can even show hitters which pitches would be balls versus strikes. The best part is that the hitter and the coach can talk about the relationship between the bat and the ball throughout the entire swing. Setting up the Swingerator takes seconds. You simply find a sturdy fence or pole and attach it at the appropriate height for your application. You then walk it out, set up your plate, and start swinging. With this device, you'll be able to tell if your bat path matches the ball path of the pitch. You'll easily see if you're over the ball, under the ball, or if your bat path intersects the ball path. You can work on the start of your swing, the middle, or the finish. You'll be able to see exactly when and where the bat enters and exits the contact zone on every pitch location. You'll be able to see what part of your bat is exposed to the ball throughout your entire swing. This is helpful for hitters that bar their arm, otherwise known as a long swing. With our practice bat, the hitter can simply get the barrel to the ball path, then let the rod ride along the lines. This in turn is training his muscles to the correct path. And all of this can be repeated for every pitch location you can imagine. Another flaw you'll be able to address is whether or not the hitter is flying open or pulling away on outside pitches. With this device, the coach will be able to see exactly where and how long the bat is in the contact zone. As a coach, you know that it's important for your hitter to get his front foot down before he starts his swing. The Swingerator allows you to adjust the balls so the hitter can see exactly when you want his front foot down. Okay, I wanted to show you something. Here's the downward bat path that we talked about versus the bat path that matches the ball right here. And I wanted to show you the difference between the two. Here's a side view. Here's the downward bat path. And then here is the bat path that matches the ball. Now if you look, the beginnings of both swings are very similar. The difference is that this one bottoms out before contact, where the downward bat path bottoms out after contact. That's the only real difference. Now, if you were to take a look at some good major league hitters, you would see that they swing similar to this. On a high and inside pitch, this would be their bat path. A low inside pitch, it would be very similar to this. I mean, look at Mike Trout, look at Pujols, look at these guys, look at Cano. They all swing like this, and they just do it because they've trained their muscles to do it, to respond to the visual cues of those balls that they see out in front, and that's where their bat goes. Now, the real trick to getting their bat on plane or on the same path as the ball is they get their front elbow lined up with the path of the ball coming in, and then they keep the bat lined up with their upper arm. If they can keep their bat lined up with their upper arm and not moving up or angled down, and they put their front elbow in line with the pitch coming in, they cannot help but get their bat in the same path as the ball. And as long as their timing is decent, they're gonna make solid contact. I'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I hope it helped. Please leave some feedback, good or bad.